Now, after discussing the continuity equation, we will go to the momentum equation, which is basically Newton's second law of motion. We call it momentum equation. It implies actually linear momentum equation. In the last assignment, I gave you a problem where I asked you to solve this equation: torque equal to I alpha for an infinitesimally small element with stresses acting on it, something like this. I asked you to solve it for a 3D element. Now what you get from there is a relationship between the shear stresses, and the relationship that you get is tau ij is equal to tau ji, where I and j are different indices for the stresses in different directions. Now here in momentum equation, which is the linear momentum equation, so the angular momentum equation, which is this torque equal to I alpha, gives us this relationship, which reduces the number of unknowns that we have to solve for. Now we'll see what linear momentum equation gives us. So let us write the Newton's second law of motion for a particle. Let's say force equal to mass times acceleration. If there is a particle on which a net force F is acting and the mass of the particle is m, then the acceleration is given by F by m. Now if we divide this equation by volume of the particle on both the sides, if the particle is not a point particle, let's say the particle is a finite sized particle, but it is still infinitesimally small, and let's say force F is acting on this particle and the mass of this system is m, and if we divide this equation F equal to ma by the volume of this particle on both the sides, we get force per unit volume F on the left hand side equal to density of that particle times acceleration. Now we can also assume that at every point of this domain there is a fluid. It is not empty space. There is some fluid with varying density, and at this particular point, for this infinitesimally small system, the density is rho at this particular point. Okay, then the equation is this for this system, which I have shown here. This is the system that we are considering. And these are imaginary boundaries of the system. Now we can write it. We can write this acceleration in terms of velocity. So we are writing dv by dt. Here d dt is the total derivative, because we are following a system. We are saying that this is a particle, this cubical or cuboidal particle, which we are tracking in space and time. So d dt is the material derivative or total derivative. of the velocity of this particle. Now this is one way of deriving this, or one way of looking at the linear momentum equation, but we'll see it from a control volume perspective also. Here we are talking about a control system perspective, where we track particles in space and time. Now this force F, these forces can be of two types. Body forces and surface forces. So what is the difference between a body force and a surface force? Now, because this particle is a finite sized particle, or it has some surface to it on which other fluid, the surrounding fluid, applies some forces. So for example, if we take this imaginary particle of this cuboidal shape, on this you know that stresses act on the boundaries. So if I show these stresses, just a few components I have shown. There are several other components, okay, on each face. So these stresses are surface forces because they act only on the surface of this element, not inside this element. Inside, if you cut the element and draw a free body diagram of that element, then you will see these stresses appearing on that surface. But because we are considering this entire thing as our system, as our free body, therefore the forces appear only on the surface of this free body. And what are the body forces? Body forces act on the entire volume of this body, such as some examples are gravity. Okay, gravity is a body force, but remember that here we have divided force by volume of the element. So this F body that we are writing and F surface that we are writing, these are body and surface forces per unit volume. So when we write the surface force or body force per unit volume, for example the gravitational force, we should write rho g. So mg is the body force and rho g is force per unit volume. So that is what appears on the left hand side here. Okay, and similarly there will be surface forces. So we'll see what are these surface forces. We know that force per unit area is tau here, and there are different components, all of these components. But what is this expression for this F surface in terms of these tau or the tensor tau? We'll see that later on. Okay, now let us take a control volume approach and see what these forces are and how the entire equation looks like. Let us draw a control volume similar to what we did for deriving the continuity equation. Let us name the coordinate axes and let us draw these imaginary lines which are hidden from our view. Now if we want to write the linear momentum equation in x direction, let us just focus on a single direction for now. Let us write it for y direction. So we'll say Fy equal to mdv by dt. So we are going to write just the y component. Here v is the velocity in the y direction and Fy are the forces in the y direction. So now what all forces are acting in the y direction? Let us identify here. There are pressure forces as well as viscous stress forces. And if there is gravity, then there are gravitational forces and any other external forces. So let us keep it simple for now. Let us assume that in the y direction there is no force acting for now, no external force acting for now. There is only stress, that is viscous stress forces due to viscosity of the fluid, as well as pressure forces. So let us draw those forces. On the right face, we have already talked about this, the convention. Pressure acts towards the surface. So if we want to write the force in positive y direction, we have to write tau yy minus p. Okay, and then on the front face, similarly, the force is on the x normal surface, so that will be tau x, and the direction is y, tau xy, and there is no tangential component in pressure, so there is no component there. It is only in the normal component, so we have already included it on the y normal surface. Similarly, on the top surface we have force on the z normal surface and the direction is y. Now the size of this element is small but finite. We are not talking about a single point here, so the stresses will be slightly different on all the faces. We said that tau yy, let's say on the positive face, is equal to tau yy on the negative face, but that is only when we are considering the same point. But here it is not the same point. There is a finite distance separating the two surfaces. So this is delta y, this is delta x. Similarly, the vertical height is delta z. So if I have to write stress on the left face, the normal stress on the left face, which I'll show by a red arrow, this is on the left face, that will be tau yy, and we can again apply Taylor series expansion here. So we have to go back delta y, so this will be minus by delta y. Okay, this is the viscous stress part. Similarly, for pressure, it will be minus p minus dou p by dou y delta y. In a similar fashion, we can derive the expressions for tau zy on the bottom face and tau xy on the back face. So let me write these. Let me take it out here and write. This is tau zy, and this is shifted in the z direction by negative delta z. So the Taylor series expansion will give tau zy minus tau zy by dou z delta z. Similarly, tau xy, which I can write somewhere here, this will be tau xy minus, this is shifted in the x direction by negative delta x. Okay, now we have all the forces in the y direction. Now we can write the linear momentum equation. Let us write all the forces, that is the left hand side, Fy. Okay, let us try to find some pattern here. If we see these forces, the positive side force and the negative side force, these are in opposite directions, so it will be the positive side minus the negative side force. These are, by the way, forces per unit area, because these are stresses. We have to multiply by the face area to get the force, and then we have to divide by volume to get the force per unit volume. So let us first write just the forces. This will be tau yy minus tau yy, these two will cancel out. Similarly, minus p minus minus p, so this and this will cancel out. What will remain is, for the normal stress component, what will remain is dou tau yy by dou y delta y minus dou p by dou y delta y. Similarly, we can see what will be left from the shear stress components. Tau zy here in the positive direction minus tau zy here, these two will cancel out, and we'll be left with plus. So this is the first part, this is the second part we are writing here. Let us give a little gap between them so that we can multiply with the areas and divide by volumes later on. Okay, so plus we have tau zy by dou z delta z, and then we have plus here tau xy, these two will cancel out, we'll be left with by dou x delta x. All right, now let us multiply by the surface areas so that we get the balance of forces. These are just forces per unit area. So for the normal stress, the area that we are talking about is delta x delta z. For this component, that is the top face, the area is delta x delta y. For the side face, that is the front and back faces, where tau xy is acting, the area is delta y delta z. Okay, so these are additions of all the forces, and now we have to divide the entire thing by the volume of the element. to get force per unit volume, which is delta x, delta y, delta z. Now we can see that delta y, delta x, delta z is common in numerator and denominator, and it will cancel out. So just the left side, if we see the left hand side of that equation, the momentum balance equation, we will be left with, for the y direction, dou tau yy by dou y, dou tau xy by dou x, plus dou tau zy by dou z, minus dou p by dou y. And on the right hand side you have rho dv by dt, where d dt is the total derivative and v is the y component of velocity. Now if we expand this, you may remember this from the last class where we discussed about the relationship between partial and total derivatives. This can be written as dou v by dou t plus u dou v by dou x plus v dou v by dou y plus w dou v by dou z. This whole thing multiplied by density, this is equal to minus dou p by dou y, and this entire term, this can be written as del dot tau, and we are talking about the y component here. So this is the momentum equation, and if we generalize this equation to 3 dimensions, to all the 3 dimensions, this is only for only for y direction. If we write x component and z component, you can fill this in, and then the entire thing in vector form, the equation in vector form, which was this can be written as minus grad p plus del dot tau is equal to rho dv by dt. We can write, sorry, this is, we have already divided by volume, so this is rho. Yes, so you can write rho dv by dt, or in its expanded form you can write rho del v by del t plus v dot del v. This is the momentum equation in its vector form. Now we said that there are body forces as well as surface forces. These two are surface forces. As we have seen here, these are the forces acting on the surface: pressure and viscous stress. If you want to add body forces, it is very simple here. Let's say you want to add the gravitational force, you can just add rho g here. So rho g minus del p plus del dot tau, because mg is the force and rho g is the force per unit volume, and I have written g as a vector here so that it is a general gravitational acceleration. It can be in any direction. If gravity is acting in, let's say, z direction here, then g vector will be minus g k cap. if gravity is in z direction. Is in the negative z direction. Okay, now we also said that if the fluid is Newtonian, if we are talking about Newtonian fluids, then this tau can be expressed as mu del v plus del v transpose in its general form. Therefore we can just substitute this instead of tau here, and we'll get an equation which is written only in terms of pressure, velocity, density and viscosity. And if density and viscosity are known, then the equation is only in pressure and velocity. There are three components of velocity: ui cap plus vj cap plus wk cap. So u, v and w are three unknowns, and pressure is another unknown, which is a scalar. So there are total 4 unknowns here. We are talking about a special case, that is Newtonian fluids, so that we can apply this relationship. We can use this constitutive relationship. And how many equations do we have here? So this is a vector equation which can be expanded into 3 equations for the 3 dimensions x, y and z. So there are 3 equations here for momentum equation, and one more equation we have already, which is the continuity equation. So there are 4 equations and 4 unknowns, and this is a solvable system. This is a well-defined system of equations. What we need is the boundary conditions and initial conditions, because there are derivatives in time, there are derivatives in space and so on. So we need boundary conditions and initial conditions. Yes. So if you substitute this for a Newtonian fluid, what you get is, let me write this velocity part on the left hand side, which is the standard for writing Navier-Stokes equations. What you will get is rho, let me write the short form, dv by dt minus del p plus mu del square v. You can derive this and you will get this del square v. You will have to use the continuity equation to cancel out some of the terms that will come here. Then you will get this term mu del square v, which comes from del dot tau term after you substitute this constitutive relationship into that equation. So this equation is known as the Navier-Stokes equations. Which is for a Newtonian fluid. Okay, so we'll discuss more about this equation, and we'll solve some simple problems which can be analytically solved by solving this Navier-Stokes equations. And we'll see how to apply boundary conditions in this equation. We'll also see how to apply initial conditions, but the problems which require time term to be there, they are slightly more complicated than steady state problems. So we'll not be solving many unsteady state problems in this course. This is just a preliminary course in fluid mechanics. We'll solve 1 or 2 problems which are unsteady, and rest of the things we'll see will be for steady state problems.